structure and often referred to as a church with many steps. And boy, were those steps hard to climb. We can almost see the members of this small congregation coming to their church on Sunday morning, admiring it as they would pause before walking up those steps, which led to the first floor. How happy and proud they were to have their own building in which to have their worship service.
In 1850, Reverend Hennessy accepted a call to a church at Leesburg, Indiana. The following period from 1850 to 1859 was restless and threatened the church existence again and again. In this short period of time, 4 different pastors were called, only to serve a year or two and then to leave. Organizing their own denominational church, one was Reformed, another Congregational, and still another Presbyterian. The congregation was influenced to ask the Evangelical Synod for a pastor, and Reverend Herman Phineas answered the call. The population of Indianapolis had grown to about 19,000 people in 1860. The city of Indianapolis grew rapidly during the Civil War and the years that immediately followed. The congregation found the first little church building to be at the corner of Ohio and Pierce Street, and it had served them well. But the need for a new building was becoming evident in advance of God's kingdom, taking the place in the city's development. The church was located about 1 block from the Governor's Circle, which became Monument Circle in 1865. The Civil War brought much activity to the Governor's Circle, including the men and women who were mustered into service. The spirit of determination, the challenge of a new building was given. With God's help, their aid, they were going forward. The second building was erected on the same location of the first building. A beautiful new house of worship was dedicated in a service in April of 1866. Like everything worthwhile, this new church brought with it the burden of debt that needed to be cleared. The burden was made heavier by the Depression period of the 1870s. In a special meeting in 1867, a great problem was presented. Where all shall we find the means for the upkeep of our church? But in the faith and the steadfastness of the purpose, they went on. Even though there was a decline in membership at the time, the members decided to rent pews for $30, $25, or $20 a year. The pew rental was later abolished in 1886. June 2nd, 1868, the first all-church picnic was held. In 1873, 3 large steel bells were secured from Washington, Germany, and placed in the majestic bell tower of the second building. Then 10 years later, in 1883, after 23 years of loyal service and leadership, Pastor Phineas received his final call. And his death was a great loss to the dying people. As a ship tossing about at sea, the congregation turned again to the Evangelical Synod and another pilot, looking for another pilot. And Zion was again richly blessed in receiving for their leader, the beloved Pastor John Christopher Peters, who was installed as Zion's pastor on April 4th, 1883. Pastor Peters served Zion Church entirely and exceedingly well, as shown by some of the accomplishments and the organizations which were founded during the pastorate of one whose picture we now view. First came Ladies' Aid. Several women, upon the invitation of his wife, Miss Marie Peters, came together in May of 1883. They were imbued with the spirit of the women of biblical days, as they were desirous in giving of their substance to assist the Lord in his cause. And with this, their purpose, they organized the Brine, known as Ladies' Aid, pledging their loyal support to the church, to missions, and to schools of the Evangelical UCC, and also to charity work for the needy as well. And then the choir. The choir in 1883, the year he was installed, the pastor and congregation deemed it advisable to purchase a new pipe organ to replace the small organ then in use. The reed organ, however, was not entirely disposed of, as it still fulfilled its mission by serving a little church in St. Joseph, Missouri, and then later in Lincoln, Nebraska. But finally, it went the way of all old furniture. With the beautiful harmonies brought forth from the new organ, a group was inspired to organize a choir to sing regularly at the church services. One thing that leads man to better thoughts and closer communication with his God is good music.
The Sunday school was reorganized, and under this new program, its influence reached out to a larger group, and due to its rapid growth, it became necessary in June of 1886 to ask the church board to erect a parsonage in order that the basement, then used as the pastor's residence, could be used for Christian education instead. If it weren't for this group alone, did they work, but the group had the true mission spirit of helping others to have a house in which they might worship, and assisted in organizing St. Paul's Church in the northeast part of the city in 1890, buying the property and assisting in the erection of their chapel. Here are some of the other organizations that were at this location. Christian Endeavor. The young people now desired to use their endeavors, and in November 1892 met, choosing the name of Unifying for Christi Pure, Bets Rabbelman, and better known as the Young People's Society for Christian Endeavor. Their purpose in brief was to pursue earnestly the ways of Christian living and to be ardent workers for the cause of the Master and the Church. They conducted weekly devotional services to develop leadership along spiritual lines and a consecration service on the last Sunday of each month, when everyone present participated by offering a prayer or repeated his favorite Bible verse or hymn. The motto of this society, for Christ and the Church, was to ever challenge its members to be their best and noblest service, having the Master as their example and leader. The congregation has always considered it a Christian duty and privilege to extend its service beyond the bounds of the church's walls. This proven by the visiting of the fatherless, in that Zion's people were instrumental in the founding of the German Protestant orphan home. In 1895, deaconess work here in our city was undertaken in a definite way, and again Zion was ready to do her part. May it always be said, Zion, you have done all that you could. Many are the events in the history of a church when you would like anything about portrayed that might be of interest. This one takes place at the Christmas service at Tomlinson Hall, which was always crowded to overflowing for the occasion. The little ones would take their place on the platform to recite their verses, which they had studied for weeks in anticipation of the gala event. Then there were the long, golden-haired angels who had their part of the program. But most eagerly did the children watch for Santa to appear in the reindeer-drawn sled to change the huge brick fireplace into candy boxes, when each child would receive a box of candy and an orange. Another scene often repeated in that place was very happy wedding occasions. The Brotherhood, in the early part of 1900, it was apparent that the church on Ohio Street was becoming too small to care for the rapidly growing congregation. The work had expanded, societies already existing were ever busy, and in 1911, we find the men of Zion desirous of organizing with the ideas of stressing brotherliness in a very definite manner. This was the founding of the Brotherhood. There's also an organization called the Willing Workers Society. It had its beginning in 1912, the last year in the Ohio Street Church. A group of younger women were anxious to have a part in the church's work, and a better name could not have been chosen, because that's what they chose, because through willing service, they were a great power for good in the life of our church. At that time, this society was organized. Plans were promulgated as to a new church building to be erected on North and New Jersey Street. Even though this was only a new society, they wanted to present some gifts. The beautiful carpets and the first altar and pulpit covers of the present church were the gifts of this organization. A new chapter in our congregation life unfolds at this period. The entering of a new epoch, for we leave this pleasant place on Ohio Street, and we can hardly say with regret, for our eyes are eagerly turned to the beautiful edifice at North and New Jersey Streets, which is now to be the new home of Zion's congregation. Under the able direction of Mr. Henry Pauley, Mr. William Shoemaker, and Mr. Louis C. Brandt as the building committee, this new building was erected to meet the needs of different group activities in the best manner possible. Beside the sanctuary proper, there were church schoolrooms, ample in size to accommodate about 400 scholars, a social hall, meeting rooms for the organizations, and a basement equipped with kitchen, dining room, and recreational rooms. On May 18, 1913, this building was dedicated to the service of the Triune God. The three bells, which had so often called the worshipers to services in Ohio Street, had been placed in the new main tower, and seemingly with more sweetness of tone, again called this congregation together for a great praise service. Love for the church was shown by the many gifts presented to be placed in God's house by friends and members in memory of dear ones. The organ, the pulpit, the altar pictures, and many other furnishings were lovingly given to the church by different members and organizations. The climax of this devotion was witnessed in an inspiring scene. The gift of service as 160 members were consecrated before the altar as they joined the fellowship of the church on that festive day.
The German language used in the services up to this time was beginning to lose its popularity in the younger generation. As much as some church fathers would like to have continued the services entirely in the German language, they saw the need of adopting the American language introduced into the church by their youth, and consequently, we find a division in the two departments of the church school. The opposite the German Ladies' Aid was the Willing Workers Society, and the Christian Endeavor alternated 1 month German and the next English in conducting their meetings. With the exception of our German Advent Sunday service and our German Good Friday service, the situation of two different languages seems to be only a record in history's pages. The complete change in the language was hastened by the dark clouds of the World War period, which shadowed even the churches, and ours was not exempt from the giving of her youth in sacrifice. With the numerous duties added, the task of serving the many fields of activity sponsored by the departments and organizations of the church became too heavy for our good pastor, and the need for a new pastor was evident. It was at this time we're introduced to our own Pastor Frederick R. Darius, who answered the call of our church and was installed in a service on November 9, 1919. Although Pastor Peters had resigned and his resignation had been accepted, he was persuaded to stay for another year to work with the new minister. Actually, he ended up staying for 12 years. The devotion which was revealed as the two ministers worked together, was outstanding. Without the kindly assistance upon the part of one who had worked for 50 years as minister of Zion, the new minister would not have been able to carry on the way in which it became possible for him to do. The years of activity upon the part of Pastor Darius gave opportunity for growth of our congregation. With the adjustment of the language problem, we find the introduction of the Zion Messenger. For 23 years, the members had been informed of activities through the medium of the well-known Hopfa, a paper which was made possible through the entire efforts of Pastor Peters. Since 1920, Zion Messenger has conveyed the messages of our church and the teachings of Christ, for whom we stand, to the many homes represented in Zion's membership. For some time, it had been the ambition of the Sunday school group to secure additional property so that we might have additional space for the church's schoolwork. It was early in 1922 that it was recommended to purchase the ground to the north of the church, with the hope that someday, in the not-too-distant future, we could expand. Through self-denial, offering contributed during 1923, a building fund was started. The years of Emeritus Pastor Peters and Pastor Darius were amazing in how they were together. The Deacon Memorial Tower chimes were dedicated in 1925. People heard many songs from the bell tower, from which were played on a keyboard in the entry hall of the parsonage. Also, Zion member George Irwin Baker, also known as Cannonball Baker, was a well-known motorcyclist, race car driver, and a national commissioner for NASCAR. In 1922, he ran in the Indianapolis 500 and finished 11th. In 1929, his 14-year-old son, Sherman, died from a tooth extraction. Cannonball gave a gift in memory of Sherman, what is on the altar of the wood carving of the Last Supper, which was dedicated on May 8, 1930. In 1940, the sanctuary was renovated for the first time, and the three-manual Kimball organ, built in 1933, was moved from Chicago, Illinois, and installed in our sanctuary. And the carvings on the pulpit were added. There were also electronic motors, drivers, and manual switches were installed for the three German bells in 1952. There were many projects from 1956 to 1958. They included a new antiphonal organ, the second renovation of the sanctuary. The building was refurbished, and the north street ramp built, along with the kitchen in the parish hall, was moved upstairs, and that room was made part of the office. There was also the purchase of 3 lots on New Jersey Street north of the church. In 1957, the Evangelical and the Reformed and Congregational Christian churches merged to form the United Church of Christ. Since the time of Pastor Darius, there has been 4 senior ministers who have served Zion Church for 10 years or more. Their names are Pastor Vernon Hecker, Pastor William Nye, Pastor Howard Baird, and our current pastor, Jonathan Basin.
Pastor Vernon Hecker started as the associate pastor with Pastor Darius in 1959. Pastor Hecker organized the Golden Years Group in 1962. During the mid-1960s, the church parking lot was extended to Walnut Street, and the entire area was paved. There was also a new memorial time chime playing from the tower every day. There were new pipes installed in the organ, bringing the number of pipes to almost 5,000. Women were first elected to serve on the church board in 1967. Zion also became part of an organization of downtown churches known as the Riley Lockerbie Association. Pastor Hecker became the senior pastor in 1970. Pastor William Nye served from 1974 to 1984. The year after his arrival, the Genesis Singers were started, while church school rooms were constructed in the basement and the balcony area of the parish hall. A ramp was also installed at the northwest door of the parish hall leading to the parking lot. The choir room was enlarged and the parlor was renovated. In 1976, for our July 4th bicentennial celebration, the mayor of Indianapolis, William Hednett III, was our guest preacher. 550 people attended the ice cream social that evening. Between 1977 and 1981, the elevator was installed, the North Street ramp entrance was built, and a fence surrounding the parking lot was added. On January 29, 1978, Zion was the only downtown church that held services during the famous blizzard of 1978, with a total of 65 people in attendance. Zion also served as an additional shelter for blizzard victims rescued by the American Red Cross. On September 28, 1980, a retirement service and dinner for Pastor Hecker was held at the Murat Temple, honoring him for 41 years in the ministry, 21 of which were here at Zion. After Pastor Hecker's retirement, Ted Shorey took over the leadership role with the Golden Years Group and became the new Director of Christian Education and Senior Programs. In October, Pastor Howard Baer came as Associate Minister. He served from 1980 to 1991. In 1981, we celebrated our 140th anniversary with Pastor Paul Frankenfeld, a former Zion Associate Minister, as the guest preacher. A prayer group was formed by Pastor William Nye, and the first German language Christmas service was held in the sanctuary. Pastor Nye married Mariana in a huge wedding at Zion with a standing room only. They had 2 children and were later called to another church in 1984. In 1990, Jonathan Block started the new Bell Choir. Zion's 150th anniversary celebration started early on Reformation Sunday, October 28, 1990, with heritage moments set during services for November through May, and a historical pageant presented on April 14th. Dr. Mallory Bransford retired December 23, 1990, as music director after 43 years at Zion. Jonathan Block became the new music director, organist, and choir director. May 19, 1991 marked the climax of Zion's 150th anniversary celebration with a processional and a single worship service, at which Pastor William Nye was the guest preacher. They concluded with a congregational dinner at the Mural. Pastor Howard Baer retired as co-pastor of Zion after also having been associate and senior pastor during his 11 years at Zion Church. Again, as the ship tossing about the sea, the congregation, steeped in tradition, tossed into a sea of change in the city of Indianapolis, with urban flight to the suburbs starting in the 1970s, and higher prices of gasoline equated to a loss of membership. Strong traditions of the past created resistance to change, which led to members looking elsewhere. The 80-year-old building also had signs of age and deterioration throughout, but especially with the stained glass windows, glowing and showing cracks and holes of light. In 1994, Pastor Don Kaufman was called as an intentional interim pastor. He held a series of cottage meetings in members' homes around the city to help guide the congregation in regrowth. Most of the members lived in the suburbs. The cottage meetings allowed the members on each side of the city to get more acquainted with each other and discuss the future of the church. With a spirit to go forward, Zion members in 1996 begin renovation of the church offices in the parish house, including installing new light fixtures and an all-new computer network. The Wuppertaler Korinde group from Germany was hosted by Zion. Zion participated with 20 other churches in the Celebration of Hope and interracial worship service at Park Square Ranch, and it did that for another 3 years. The Christ-knocking stained glass window in the entrance vestibule on North Street was restored by Conrad Schmidt Company of New Berlin, Wisconsin.
In 1997, the 6 small windows on the first floor of the sanctuary and the large window on the south second story were restored. The gym floor of the parish hall was resurfaced, newly altered parish hall stage curtains with the We Are the World tapestry insert, hung in time for the White Gift program. Pastor James Clark was installed as senior pastor. In 1998, the two other large sanctuary stained glass windows were restored along with the 3 chapel windows. An organ task force was developed to properly study and evaluate the overall condition of Zion's pipe organ. In 1999, the many stained glass windows in the front towers, the 2 front towers, and windows in the restrooms were restored. In April, the pipe brigade of congregational members began moving pipes from the pipe organ in the sanctuary balcony area to the stage and Sunday school rooms. The choir loft was remodeled while the organ was being restored by Reynolds and Associates. Pastor Craig Amlin came to Zion to be associate pastor. In 2000, Pastor Amlin started the East North Street Drama Group and held the first annual Young Playwrights Festival. He also worked many summers with the youth at Miriam Institute. The Oregon Historical Society presented Zion Evangelical honors for preserving the original voice or tone of the organ built in 1933. The parish nurse ministry was started under the leadership of Pastor Clark and Pastor Andrew, while attempting to search new ways to create a comfort zone for people who want it. Something different, or who are not familiar with the traditions of Sunday morning services, Zion began its first contemporary worship services on Wednesday nights. In 2001, the contemporary worship service was changed to Saturday evenings at 6:30 p.m. called Reflections. In 2002, master woodworker Ron Koch refurbished the carvings of the Da Vinci's Last Supper and the 5 wooden figurines around the pulpit depicting the writers of the Gospel of Jesus. In 2005, Zion presented the first annual Noise Fest in an attempt to attract people from the neighborhood. Our current pastor, Pastor Jonathan Basil, came to Zion in June 2006. Also my name. On January 4th, 2007, he started the monthly First Thursday Bible Study Group. On October 10th, Stephanie Basil started a women's Bible study on Wednesday nights using Beth Moore's Breaking Free. In 2011, Zion Church started a website and the parking lot ramp was renovated. The 100th anniversary of the church building was celebrated in 2013. On July 2015, the outreach ministry started the Church of Thomas and met on Sunday evenings at 5 p.m. The city of Indianapolis is now populated with over 850,000 people, which is a lot more than 2,000 from the original. Time has changed the city. Time has also changed Zion Church. Changes are reflected across the nation. A lot of change. Besides the change with the German language 100 years ago, women have come through change as well. The men who started Zion Church are the original fathers of the faith. But we also have had pioneering women who served in groups such as Ladies' Aid and those serving on the church board starting in 1967. We must give credit to the mothers who live with just as great faith as the fathers. Because of working and praying together through the changes of time, United Zion Church now not only has the faith of the fathers, but also the faith of the mothers. Zion has dreamed her dream, and yet she has seen the vision of the greater task before. There still remain new fields to open and pioneers to build, that there may be further progress in the kingdom's work. Zion accepts the challenge of the past and bids you, her attendants, to go forth with the faith of the fathers and mothers and in the spirit of unity to guide those who the future of Zion is entrusted. Trust in God and go forward and do His will here on earth.
I would just like to thank everybody for coming today. It's been a few months of hectic work for our committee, but I think it's good that we had close to 120 reservations, which I think is wonderful for today. So thank you all for being here. I would like to recognize the committee, Robin Nichols, Becky Ricks, and Guy O'Neill. I don't know what we do without Guy and taking care of all of our artifacts. Also adapted the pageant today from the 90th anniversary celebration. So, and then obviously there was a little to add on to that over the years. If you didn't hear quite all of it, or you wanted to dwell on it a little more, with the memory booklets that we're going to give out today, there's a copy of the pageant in the back of it, so you'll be able to reread it and peruse it. And we will be giving those out over here along the wall under the UCC flag. They're by alphabet, so that we want to track who we're giving it to, because we have one per family. We also have a commemorative Christmas ornament to give to everyone for the 175th anniversary. And a lot of the memories, and I think a lot of us remember when Mike West made the paper ornaments at Christmas time that we all received. So the committee felt it was a nice gesture to give everyone another commemorative Christmas ornament. So we tracked those. If you've got adult children at home, we counted that they should have one of their own as well. So Shucks, you can take for your kids. Or Mary Ann, you can take for your kids. So that if they're still in. Yes. I will. The project that was selected by the committee for the anniversary fund this year was to restore the bell tower. The bells, I believe, came from the second church over here, and a little work needs to be done on those. And we used to have chimes that rang periodically through the day, and hasn't been done for years. So we're looking into, with the funds raised, we'll be able to have that occur again. I understand that the board agreed at last week's meeting to extend the campaign through the 2017 anniversary. So we appreciate that, so we can do this a year-long campaign rather than just ending this year and going on. And maybe we can raise enough funds that we can have a little maintenance fund set up for maintaining in the future. So we understood, Guy had someone in from a company that said the bells themselves need to be oiled every so often, and evidently that hasn't been done for a while, so we need to take on that project as well. In addition to the committee, I'd like to recognize Robin and Becky and Nancy and Lisa Ruby for the decorations on the table and the dining room set. And Robin typed all of the memories in the memories booklet, so we appreciate that. Can we have the kitchen crew come out and thank them for the I'd like to thank the messenger crew, the group that usually comes in and collates the messenger, came in to collate booklets for us, so we appreciate their work.
They said I was out here. They said I was out here, so don't worry about it.
And Bob and Ellen Johnson and Nancy, I was going to say Nancy Nichols. That's been a few years. Nancy Boyle will be sitting back at the tables to check your name off when you go back to get your ornament and your booklet. So again, we appreciate everybody, and now without further, Marge is going to accompany us in our Zion song. So if you would stand, please. church, if you would please sign it on the way out so we can, as we did the 160th, have a record of those here. And three people I forgot to recognize. We're glad to see Ted Short with us today. Thank you, Ted. And we're always happy to see Rick Darius and his wife Virginia here. So. His wife Carolyn. So we're always glad when they're here. So, Pastor Basil.
Mary Ann, would you like to say something? Okay, all right, sounds good. Well, let's close in prayer. Oh, gracious and loving God, the joy it was today to look back throughout the rich history of this congregation. Miracles, abundant, your presence has been here throughout. We pray that you would continue to bless us in the journey that lies ahead. There have been challenges along every part of our journey. We know there are challenges ahead. We know that you are greater than anything that stands in the way of us sharing Christ's love and being that beacon of light. Bless us as we faithfully seek to do so now